Despite government oversight, food recalls are on the rise, and the food inspection system appears to be broken. We're going to talk about that with Kramer McLukey, a new report put out by Iowa Public Interest Research Group. And we're also going to talk with Ron Yarnell about the election. We're going to get one more opportunity to debrief the election. And then the main course, Richard Doak. I've been dying to get Richard Doak on the show, former editor of the Des Moines Register editorial page, and he'll be joining us. We're going to talk about the economy, about the election, and I have a feeling we'll get into climate change.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Ed Fallon here, folks. Gateway Market and Cafe is your locally owned source for specialty groceries. Enjoy chef-crafted, prepared foods, artisan baked goods, organic produce, specialty cheeses, and hand-selected wines and craft beer. Visit the lively cafe for breakfast, lunch, or dinner 7 days a week. Gateway Market is centrally located on the corner of Martin Luther King Jr. Parkway and Woodland Ave. Stop by or visit www.gatewaymarket.com for more details. That's Gateway Market, folks. Good food, great community.
Times are tough, and most people are just trying to make their cars last a little bit longer. That's why you should know about Sargent's Garage in Des Moines. You can trust Sargent's to make the right diagnosis and give you a fair price. Whether it's a routine oil change or a major repair, Sargent's always does outstanding work. So don't give up on that old car just yet. Call Sargent's Garage at 246-8149. That's 246-8149 for Sargent's Garage.
This moment of silence brought to you by Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering, home of Des Moines' premier rooftop dining experience. Located in the heart of Beaverdale, Tally's offers speedy and affordable rooftop lunch, catering for events both large and small, innovative cuisine, as well as vegetarian and gluten-free menus. Come to Tally's for live music, dry-aged steaks, Sunday brunch, and all-you-can-eat ribs every Monday night. Tally's Restaurant Bar and Catering at 2712 Beaver Avenue. Call 279-2067. That's 279-2067.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
What's that building behind me? Where the heck did that come from? My gosh, it keeps moving. Oh my gosh, it's crazy out there, folks. State Capitol, I guess it's going to be rocking soon. It's not quite rocking today, but it will be. And speaking of rocking, that's Brother Trucker bringing us back. That's Brother Trucker's tune, Downtown. A really powerful, serious tune about a gay homeless youth in downtown Des Moines. Anyway, Andy Fleming, great guy, great friend, and a great band, Brother Trucker. I want to thank Physicians for Social Responsibility for helping to sponsor this program. And I also want to thank the Iowa chapter of the Sierra Club. And I want to thank the sponsor for this segment of our show, Gateway Market. Appropriate because we are talking food. Later in the program, Ron Yarnell is going to join me. We're going to talk about the election. Just one more time, please, bear me just one more time, and then we're done talking about the stinking election. And then later in the program, I'm very excited to have Richard Doak with me. Richard is the former editor of the editorial page of the Des Moines Register, still writes a lot, teaches at Iowa State University, is a very, very provocative, deep thinker, and I'm very excited to have him on the show later today. So we're going to kick it off, though, with Kramer McLukey. No, McLucky.
McLucky, that's
I was
right.
spelling it wrong, but I was saying it right if the spelling that I was wrongly creating was correct. It's not.
Yeah.
So now I have to adjust myself and say it correctly.
That's right.
Yeah, okay. McLucky.
Thank you. Much appreciated, Ed.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, glad
and you're
to
with
be here.
Iowa Public Interest Research Group.
That's right.
IPIRG, as it's sometimes known, which is no longer just a college-based student organization.
Right.
And you do some pretty kick-butt research.
Yeah, I like to think so.
And the most recent one is on food recalls. And, I don't know how many times a year we're getting a food recall, but it is happening a lot. And it's usually some component of the industrial food system. So tell us in a nutshell, and I will interrupt you because I love interrupting people.
Go for it.
No, I love to throw in the tough-hitting questions once in a while. But tell me, what exactly is this report about? What is it telling us?
Sure. So this report is kind of a snapshot of food recalls from January 2011 until September of 2012. And it's looking at just nationwide all of the different recalls that have been linked to illnesses or even in some cases deaths.
How many are we talking about?
So we're talking about 1,753 foodborne illnesses that were actually reported to the FDA.
1,753 foodborne illnesses reported to the FDA.
That are linked to food recalls.
Over the last, what period of time we talking about?
So about a year, a little over a year.
So just in 1 year, we've had 1,753 reported cases of food poisoning, foodborne illness.
The estimate of how many there actually are is much higher, though.
I would bet, yeah.
These are just ones that are linked to reported recalls, and obviously everything that results in some illnesses is not recalled or reported or correctly linked to the proper illness and the proper food.
And of the 1,700 reported foodborne illnesses, how many actual product contaminations are we talking about? I mean, there's peanut butter, there were sprouts, there was spinach, there's lots of meat products.
You're hitting some of the big ones. There were 2 cantaloupe recalls, which resulted in the lion's share of these cases. There's also mangoes, as you said. There's raw tuna. There's ground turkey from Cargill, and papaya and peanut butter. These are all the main ones.
So talk me through each of these. Are they all from the industrial food system, or are some of them traceable to local farms, to organic farms? To small-scale operations?
These are all to large-scale operations.
Every one of them.
Because these are ones that are distributed across a broad swath of people. I mean, I'm not going to say that there's no illness associated with small operations, but it's not large enough to be reported and result in a recall.
Okay, so again, you started listing them off, but how many are we looking at altogether? Do you know?
How many recalls?
Yeah, how many actual? You said
just 7.
When you said 2 cantaloupes, you don't mean 2 individual cantaloupes. You mean 2 separate,
2 different
cantaloupe recalls involving tons and tons of cantaloupes, I assume.
Yeah, both times they were linked to salmonella outbreaks. The first one resulted in 147 known illnesses and 142 hospitalizations. It was in 28 different states from this one farm in Colorado. And the second one resulted in 261 people ill. And the majority of these cases were in Kentucky, Illinois, and Indiana, but we also had cases from both of these outbreaks in Iowa.
Okay, but the contaminated melons aren't from Iowa.
Correct. Yeah.
Now I know the salmonella poisoning from AJ DeCoster's farm is in quotes here, folks, because it's not really a farm; it's a big, ugly factory. And the poisonings from that, I mean, record in terms of the number of contaminations, I believe. I can't remember how many now, but it's huge.
The cantaloupe.
Was it 500 million eggs, maybe?
I'm not sure about that particular one.
Okay, I think I want to say it was 500 million eggs that were contaminated.
Yeah, we didn't look at the eggs in this one.
You did? This doesn't look at eggs?
No. That's not one that we found. It wasn't from January 2011 into September 2012.
It was before that.
Outside of our
Correct.
range. Yeah.
Okay. So this is just that 1 year. Just 1 year.
Yeah, it's about a year and a half, yeah.
So did you guys run out of money and not go back another 5 or 10 years?
We just wanted to look. Our focus is on what's happened since the Food Safety Modernization Act.
Gotcha.
Because that's supposed to improve the standard. It's supposed to improve the FDA's ability to enforce food safety standards. But it really hasn't resulted in that because it's been underfunded and understaffed.
So are any of the poisonings, any of the identified contaminations in Iowa? I know some of the cases, some of the individual, reported illnesses are Iowans, but are any of the actual violators in Iowa?
No. These were all things that were brought in from out of state.
Okay. But again, we do plenty. We do our part here for the industrial food system.
Absolutely,
and
we
certainly
do.
AJ DeCoster has done his part for promoting salmonella. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I can't guarantee that. Some of it was from Cargill ground turkey, and I imagine we have some Cargill turkey farms in Iowa.
I think we do in north central Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they're Cargill, but I know they're turkey, and I know there's some pretty big buildings up there just along the interstate.
Yeah.
So, what again the Food Safety Act?
Yeah, it's the Food Safety Modernization Act of 2011.
Act, right? Yes.
And it gives the FDA some new powers. It allows them to issue mandatory recalls. Previously, they would just issue voluntary recalls, and usually the food merchants would go along with that, but they were not legally obliged to, and now they have to.
Right.
So it also
how did that pass the Republican Congress, which never met a regulation it didn't hate?
Well, I don't know about the particulars of how it went through, but
how did Steve King like foam at the mouth when he thought about us regulating anything at all?
Yeah, I imagine Representative King isn't a big fan of this. What's happened is that it was passed, but now it's just not being funded properly. The congressional
that's the trick.
Yeah, the budget office asked for a much higher funding level than has been given.
So what did they ask for, and what did we receive?
Let me get that for you, Ed.
Doing his homework on the set here.
Yeah,
Look at this.
that's right.
I told you I asked tough questions. Well, that's a minor detail. The bottom line is the folks who managed the program, who identified the fiscal cost, identified a figure that has not been approved by Congress.
Correct.
And so as a result, basically your research was to find out if the act had been effective.
And it really has not.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, if we're still getting 1,700 plus cases of reported poisoning, if we're still getting this huge list of contaminants, of products that are contaminated, it doesn't look like we're doing a very good job.
Right. And what's even more disturbing to me is that the number of salmonella cases has been stagnant over the last 5 years, despite repeated attempts to modernize our food safety standards and enforce them
And
better.
stagnant often sounds good, but in this case it's not,
It's
because
bad,
we've put in, we keep having outbreaks. We keep, sounding the alarm. We even go as far as passing legislation that's supposed to provide more oversight and control, and yet the level remains the same.
Yeah, the FDA just doesn't have the capabilities to enforce this. And so despite some nice, earnest legislative efforts to help combat this problem, we're not seeing any difference made.
So it's like an anorexic doubling his or her diet and not gaining any weight.
I suppose so.
If I can speak of somebody who just came off a fast.
A colorful way
fast.
to put it. Yeah, when I got that email about your fast, I thought maybe you'd read through this report and take it to heart.
And decided not to eat in order to cut my chances of poisoning. No, because I feel no danger at all, because nearly everything I eat is something I've grown or something that comes from Gateway Market or some other local store that I trust, and a lot of their food products come from local farms. Or I go to the farmer's market. I know where my food comes from, and I think that makes all the difference in the world. Yeah, and my bike as well. Now my bike, again, understand, cars use oil for fuel. My bike likes yogurt, likes granola, likes fruit and vegetables, and you've not experienced any salmonella poisoning lately, Bike?
No, but I eat a lot of bread, so...
You eat a lot of bread?
I eat a lot of bread. I feel like it keeps me going, especially if we don't have anything else. But
just for our studio guest here, who probably is not familiar with the dining habits of Bikes, how exactly do you ingest bread?
Well, you see, I'm not going to tell you.
Okay, I guess that's a little bit personal. I certainly didn't want to get into the other end of the dietary
Bike is
phenomenon.
very coy.
Bike is coy and pretty smart for a bike. I mean, she's been around a while. She's been 55,000 miles, so she's seen a bit of the world.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah. All right. So anyway,
I'm very fast.
yeah, sometimes too fast for my own comfort. Watch it. All right. So again, yeah, I'm not worried. I mean, I know there is a possibility that there might be some outbreak from a local food source, from a small farmer. That's possible, but the bottom line is, in your study, not a single incidence has occurred with a local farm, with a small scale, organic, family-owned farm. It's all been big industrial ag.
Correct. Yeah, these are all very large operations that send their produce or their meat products nationwide, and it's really scary because there's just not much FDA oversight. They don't have to conduct on-site visits with any sort of regularity, and they don't have the funding to do it, even if there was a statute making them do that.
Folks, if you want to join the conversation, Kramer McLucky, I get it right this time. McLucky is with me. He's with Iowa Public Interest Research Group. The number is 244-0077, 244-0077. And you can also tell me how lucky I am to have Kramer on the show by emailing me at fallonforum@gmail.com, or you can report your own food-based illness experience right here, and we'll make sure it gets to the proper authorities. All right, so I think probably the most fascinating question to me is this. What kind of pushback have you had from the big ag interest groups?
Well, what they're basically doing is all behind the scenes because they don't want to be out front saying, less regulation, make us have lower standards. So what they're doing is using their influence in Congress to make sure that this Food Safety Modernization Act does not get fully funded.
So they're actively working against funding it at the level that was recommended.
Yeah, the FDA is fully funded until March of 2013, and then after that, their funding will drop off
but they're not offering any criticism of the report. They're not saying this is wrong, and this is wrong. They're not saying anything critical about it.
No, I think they're just kind of trying to ignore it or pretend like it's under their radar. Even though we I mean, we named some specific large operations in here that I'm sure we're not happy to get this kind of press.
Which ones?
Cargill, like I already mentioned.
Right.
The ones that have affected Iowa were Sprouts that went to Jimmy John's restaurants, which I'll say I love Jimmy John's.
Now Sprouts, you shouldn't go to Jimmy John's.
I know, yeah.
They're a chain, man. Come on.
It's too good.
Well, but right next door you've got Host. Right around the corner you got Fighting Burrito, and then you got Proof, and you got Ritual Cafe.
That's right. There's great stuff down here.
All right,
I'm
picking
putting
on
my
my
plug
guest
for
now.
Fighting Burrito. I'm a fan.
Okay, good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Join the fight. Who? What's the slogan? What are you fighting for? Anyway, yeah, but Sprouts, a good example, because that you think of Sprouts and you think good eating, you think healthy dining, but here we have a product that is otherwise considered healthy that is, at least in this one case, was dangerous.
Yeah, it contained E. coli.
And it came from Nebraska, if memory serves. And what exactly, what kind of operation was that in Nebraska?
We don't actually have the source of the Sprouts. It was in Nebraska. I don't know what the farm was. But
was it? I mean, do you really even need a farm to grow Sprouts? Don't you just need your basement?
I suppose so. Yeah, you didn't just grow them in the dark. Yeah,
just put them in the basement under grow lights. I mean, I could probably have a pretty good sprout operation with all the grow lights I have for my spring plants.
Yeah, I think so. I think you just want to make sure they didn't have E. coli, and then you sold them to a large nationwide sandwich chain.
Okay, so the powers that be are ignoring the report. Does that mean you're not making enough noise?
I think we're making noise. This was released in 35 states. We all have done a press push about it. I think they just want to ignore it as much as possible because their response can only be, we're self-regulating. But clearly that's ineffective when we have 1,700 food-related illnesses and 37 deaths in about 18-month period.
Yeah. So despite a significant federal effort, allegedly, at least ostensibly, on the surface at any rate, to do something about it, nothing has changed.
Yeah.
The number... And again, this research doesn't go back beyond the year, beyond 2011, but still, it appears the numbers are consistent.
Yeah.
That's of great concern. So, do you have friends in the U.S. Congress? I know you probably don't
certainly.
have. I guess you don't have any among the Republicans in the U.S. House.
Oh, we have some.
Do you?
Yeah, certainly. We haven't worked as much legislatively on this issue because it'll be something to take on with the next Congress when the current budget expires.
What does the Democratic Senate say about this?
I haven't heard anything in particular from the Senate. I know that we certainly have good.
I would think that'd be your best allies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How's Tom Harkin?
I think Tom Harkin is good on food regulation. We haven't actually talked to him personally at Iowa PIRG because, again, we're waiting till the next session on
Now,
this.
is there a risk that any regulatory reform in food inspection might inadvertently penalize the small farms that are not the problem?
I don't think so because, as you were saying, it's these large operations that tend to have more of a problem because they have, huge factory floors that they're pushing through all this produce, and it's much easier for things to get contaminated, for there to be mold or some presence of bacteria.
But I can see the bad guys saying, "Hey, here's a way we can get this thing out of our way. We can help craft the legislation in a way that looks like we're the good guys, but we'll make sure it applies to the little farms, to the organic farms, to the small producers." So that it takes some of them out of business, because complying with regulations is much harder for a small operation.
Yeah, that could be a danger. But if one of the compliance measures we see implemented is more on-site visits and inspections from the FDA, then small farms would have nothing to fear from that. They would have it'd be a quick inspection. It wouldn't cost them any days of working.
Can I get that in writing from you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I'm not entirely sure that's the case.
So
I'd like to believe that's the case, but
I don't think it would penalize the small
just
farms
a little
disproportionately.
Just a little red flag I'm holding up here, saying maybe we should be careful to make sure the corporate ag interests are not going to. And I've seen them do this before, where they've applied laws that were intended to correct malfeasance within the industrial ag industry. They found a way to apply those to the small farmers and cause havoc in their lives.
Yeah, they certainly have undue influence over the Farm Bill, and that's another thing that Iowa PIRG and U.S. PIRG fights against.
Yeah. Well, good stuff, Kramer. If people want to learn more about this report study, what do we call it?
Report. Yeah, it's called Total Food Recall, and it's on our website.
Recall. Total Food Recall on the Iowa Public Interest Research Group website.
Yep, iowapirg.org. That's iowapirg.org.
Okay, Total Food Recalls. Okay, great. Well, I hope you. One last question. Any efforts to try to do anything through the Iowa legislature?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely pushing for stronger state standards and for the FDA to help states implement them as well. So that'll be something we'll be looking at in the next session.
Good for you. All right. Thanks so much, Kramer, for joining
Thank you.
us. Folks, when we come back, we're going to talk with Ron Yarnell about the election. I want to thank Gateway Market, speaking of food, for helping to sponsor this segment of the program. Gateway is at 20th and Woodland in downtown Des Moines. I call Sherman Hill downtown Des Moines. It feels like downtown Des Moines because it takes me no time at all to get here. Because I have a really, really fast bike that is well fed and knows how to eat high-quality whole wheat bread, which you can also get at Gateway Market, along with really good cheese, produce, dairy products, you name it, you can get it at Gateway Market, along with breakfast, lunch, and supper if you are so inclined. They have a great menu all day long, open till 10 at night, and they're also open for catering. They provide a great catering service. And again, folks, they keep the money local. And as far as I know, Gateway has never sold a product from an industrial corporation that has been tainted with salmonella or E. coli. They've never been. I know Trader Joe's was. Trader Joe's got caught in the peanut butter problem. Gateway Market, never seen that problem, probably never will because they are local and very conscientious. So check them out, folks, at 20th and Woodland. That's Gateway Market, and we'll be back in a minute on the Fallon Forum.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Hey folks, it's Ed Fallon. I want to tell you about saving energy and saving money. Tim Reynolds with Reynolds Energy Solutions will give you a comprehensive energy audit that will cost you nothing. And Tim will identify the many ways in which you can reduce energy use while saving money. Now, I had Tim over for an audit last month, and I was amazed, I tell you, at how much energy was going through the roof, out the windows, the back door. You get it. So before the cold winds of winter really blow hard, give Tim a call at 802-2801. That's 802-2801.
Host is a locally owned restaurant in downtown Des Moines that focuses its food and philosophy on embracing simplicity. The majority of Host's food is from local farmers who practice sustainable and health-conscious agriculture. Much of what you'll find on your plate is a familiar comfort food, presented with a modern and tasty interpretation. Host is open for lunch Monday through Friday from 11 to 2, and also available for private dinner events and special themed dinners throughout the month. So, check out Host at 13th and Locust in Des Moines.
With warm weather finally here, it's time to think about upgrading the efficiency of your furnace and air conditioner. Leonard Tinker Heating and Cooling has provided honest, competent service for over 20 years. Whether it's your home or business, for repair work or to install a more energy-efficient furnace or air conditioner, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422. That's 263-0422. For honest, competent heating and cooling service, call Leonard Tinker at 263-0422.
Wow, some wedding.
Yeah, I've never seen a bride in coveralls.
Right, and skipping down the aisle to accordion music.
Not to mention the reception. That wedding cake was a freaking fruitcake.
It's your wedding. Don't leave anything to chance. Diana's Wedding Cakes. Using only the finest, freshest ingredients with free on-time delivery and setup. Choose one of Diana's custom designs or create your own. Call Diana's Wedding Cakes, 641-275-9279. That's 641-275-9279.
Drug and alcohol addiction slowly steals a person's identity, tearing away pieces of their life little by little until one day it seems like the hope of a happy future is gone and there's no chance of getting it back. Here at St. Gregory Retreat Centers, we can assure you that there is hope. Our unique approach to recovery begins with the understanding that the dysfunction and damage caused by addiction can be overcome, not just dealt with. Don't let another day go by. Call St. Gregory today.
Whether you're 10, 25, 50, 80 years old and beyond, everyone needs to live within their means. I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of America. For almost a quarter of a century, we've helped people of all ages learn to manage their personal finances to benefit them far into the future. When problems arise, we've got the experience you need to make those debt problems go away. Got financial problems? Call Consumer Credit of America.
Well, hi, I'm Rob Spearman. I'm a broker-owner of RE/MAX Real Estate Concepts in Des Moines, Iowa. Give us a call if you're looking at buying or selling a home, or if you're having trouble on your mortgage payments or looking to purchase foreclosures. We have the agents to help you, experienced, outstanding agents. Our office number is 515-276-2872. Or if you'd like to look at homes, go to our website, homeconnectusa.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back, folks. And reminder, Richard Doak, former editorial page editor with the Des Moines Register, will be my guest in the final segment of the show. Looking forward to having Richard on. If you'd like to call either this segment or the last segment of the show, it's 244-0077, 244-0077. And toll-free, the number is 855-244-0077. And I want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions for sponsoring this segment of our program. And with me in the studio now, in addition to my lovely and articulate bike, is Ron Yarnell.
How you doing?
Not lovely, but very articulate.
Oh.
Well, you got a White Sox hat on. How good is that?
Well, I'm celebrating the president's victory.
Oh, really? Okay.
You know, President Obama's a White Sox fan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pull that mic a little closer to you there.
All right.
Ron. Again, there's so much to talk about regarding the election, and I've promised to be done with it today because you could pontificate and analyze till the cows come home. But among other interesting theories is that I guess money can't buy anything it wants in politics.
It buys a lot.
It buys a lot, but you've got folks like the Sheldon dude and the Koch brothers and all the other multi-billionaire Republican donors who thought they were buying the best candidate they could afford, and it didn't happen.
Well, I kind of made a short list of 5 reasons I believe Obama won re-election, and they're not exclusive. If anyone has other reasons, that's fine too. And one reason is Obama is a winner, and very simple definition of that. A winner is a person who wins.
Okay.
And if you look at his biography, college, law school, his civil rights, being a civil rights lawyer, then he goes to the state senate, then he becomes a U.S. senator, and then he becomes the president. Now, on the right, people like Rush Limbaugh have accused him of being an affirmative action baby. I've seen other...
what does that mean?
That means that because he's black, he became president.
Oh, really? Okay. Okay. A more usual formula is because you're rich, you become president, Mitt Romney.
And so Rush Limbaugh has said that because the president has received favoritism all his life. And I think that's pretty strong talk for a guy who's a freshman Southeast Missouri State University dropout, and others have made up nefarious conspiracy theories of how Barack Obama has come to success so quickly on such a path. So, but bottom line, he's a winner. He has the gift. He has the inclination. He has the hand of God, if you want to use that kind of language.
I don't actually, but if you do, go for it.
Use it as a metaphor. Use it as whatever you want. The second reason is, and this really drives the right wing crazy, his opponents crazy, people like Barack Obama.
He is very likable. I was 30 feet away from him the other day, and I was liking him a lot.
There is a hardcore 20% or something of people who absolutely hate him, and they'll believe anything that's shoveled in their direction that's bad about him. But the rest of us, I use this for myself. Barack Obama reminds me of an old college buddy who 30 years later did well for himself. And he likes baseball, he likes Star Trek, he likes classic soul music. He's like an all-American guy. And I'm utterly confounded by the attempt to other him, to make him some kind of alien. I think that's the most failed attempt in U.S. political history. The biggest waste of money is trying to make Barack Obama look like he's some kind of alien.
One thing that shocks me about the vitriol against him among the very, very wealthy, I mean, I understand how the forces of darkness will use nefarious arguments to divide and conquer. They'll get people thinking about ridiculous things. I mean, Donald Trump's not even good at that, but he tries. Birth certificate. We need a revolution. Just crazy talk. But I mean, there's always those out there with money who will use their big money-funded megaphones to get folks to buy arguments that are just that end up making they make decisions contrary to their best interest. Yeah. But really, I mean, if you look at the Koch brothers and some of the other very, very wealthy people who supported Mitt Romney, is Obama all that bad for them? I mean, I wish Obama was going to be worse for them, and maybe he will be in his second term.
Obama's been described by some as a quote-unquote Rockefeller Republican. which indicates that his views and the real political playing field are fairly moderate Republican. 40 years ago, he might have been to the right of Richard Nixon. It's kind of weird to make those kinds of comparisons. But basically, money has allowed people to say anything, and it's on the theory if you say something loud enough, it must be true. And also, it's kind of
or repeat a lie often enough, and people will believe it's true.
And I think this falls into another thing. For one thing, the right wing, they have deified Ronald Reagan, but they clearly don't understand Ronald Reagan's mojo. Mm-hmm. The basic thing about Ronald Reagan is people liked Ronald Reagan. Even his opponents liked him on a personal level.
Yeah.
And
an Irish relative of mine summed it up really well. He looks so nice.
Yeah.
He looks so nice.
I was named after Ronald Reagan, not because he was president, but because he was the host of the General Electric Hour in 1960. Okay.
That was fortuitous, I guess.
Well, all my cousins had very ethnic European names, and my mother wanted to give me a very American name. And there was Ronald Reagan being the host for the General Electric Hour, which was a very popular show at the time.
Yeah.
They don't understand that critical element of Ronald Reagan. People like to vote for someone they like, and because like translates into trust. Mm-hmm. And today, I tell you, the Republican Party is this rip-roaring, misanthropic, misogynist ball of fury that I get the impression that Republicans, they always talk about real Americans and how they love America, but I get the impression they really don't like most Americans.
Well, because most Americans aren't the pure lily white folks that we grew up with in the 50s.
That's it. The Republican Party has come to understand America as being Mayberry.
Or Ozzie and Harriet.
Ozzie and Harriet. I think of Mayberry.
Or Leave It to Beaver. No, okay, I'm done with my TV metaphors.
Okay, but and here's the thing about Mayberry: it's make believe. It's the only southern town during the 1960s that apparently didn't have a race problem. But Obama, third reason I think he won, Obama understands and likes the real America. He likes the diversity. He's comfortable with all kinds of people. I mean, Mitt Romney was notorious for the fact that he didn't really feel comfortable with a lot of different kinds of people.
Right.
He only felt comfortable with the country club set.
Yeah, the 47% and then a bunch of subsets within that.
Yeah. Another reason I feel Obama won, this is inside baseball, I think, but I believe Obama and his people, they really understood and they understand the political process better than the Republicans. They understood it was all about the Electoral College.
They understood that, and they did a great job at targeting states, which is one reason we saw a lot of Obama here. We saw a lot of Romney as well, of course, but they also understood, I think, that Latinos are a growing political force. And I mean, Democrats, I think mostly, for the most part, not exclusively, but for the most part, Democrats understand the challenges facing immigrants and the value immigrants bring to this country. I think George Bush understood that too because of his location in Texas on the border. But mostly the Republican Party has not understood that. I mean, even when Bush pushed for immigration reform, who came out raging and rabidly against him? Talk radio.
Yeah. Well,
Rush Limbaugh and company.
And I'm wondering if Republican politicians and their machineries have been corrupted by right-wing media. And just because right-wing populism is a success as a media product, they believe that it's therefore politically...
Well, it is sometimes successful as a political strategy as well. Again, look at the immigration reform bill that Bush was more or less on the right side of.
Well,
that was defeated, I think, in large part because of talk radio.
Well, guess what? Sean Hannity and others are signing on today. They love immigration reform now.
Oh, did they really?
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I have not.
The DREAM Act. By the time
that's a quick change of tune, isn't it?
By the time they're through, they're going to make it like the DREAM Act was a Republican idea, and they were always for it, and it was actually Barack Obama who was holding it up.
Wow, Ron, you have too much time on your hands if you're listening to Sean Hannity.
I'm not. No. Okay. And the last point I think that Obama won is that the president, in his rhetoric, he really comes off as a person who's for everyone. He's for the success of all the people in the country. He's for the country as a whole. And conservatives, I knew Obama was going to win last March, when for reasons no one can explain to me, the Republicans and their auxiliaries decided to go off on this misogynist tear that defied belief, because after all, if the biggest voting bloc in the country are women, you want to offend them, right?
As often as possible.
As often as possible. And they continue,
as broadly as possible.
And through the whole process, heaping helpings of racism. And then the pinnacle, the cherry on the cake, on the ice cream sundae, was 47% September.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to know what there's a bunch of cherries on that sundae. That one, a Hurricane Sandy, which again is just fortuitous, and then of course the ridiculous comments of Richard Murdoch and Todd Akin.
Well, that was another thing. In March, I realized the success. One part of the success of Obama. Conservatives are always saying, well, we don't get enough media time, it's liberal bias. At that point, I said, the best thing to do to win is keep putting microphones and cameras in front of conservatives and letting them talk, because they really want to talk about rape. but finally, it was just a deal where Republicans really come off as insulated, isolated, representing, I think the convention where you had the great Clint Eastwood talking to the empty chair, the angry old white guy talking to a figment of his imagination. That
Quick, where are the men in the white coats? Please help Mr. Eastwood off the stage.
And afterwards, Tea Party people actually adopted the empty chair as their symbol.
Again, showing just how out of touch they are with the ineffectiveness of that symbol. Now, So now you and I have both been concerned, critical of President Obama.
Yeah.
I think a fellow traveler, Arnie Arneson, has described her feelings about President Obama's first term as majestically disappointed.
Right.
I think you would probably share that analysis. I do. Do we have reason to feel significantly more hopeful this coming term?
I feel that I was schooled by Obama's first term and how entrenched the status quo, wealth and privilege really is. And it's not going to change with an election of a president.
Okay, but to what extent could he have challenged that status quo and chose not to?
Well,
I'm thinking
I was, with the healthcare reform, I was one of the people, I'm a universal single payer kind of guy.
Oh, you're one of those commies.
Yeah, I'm one of those. And so I was disappointed that basically the Affordable Care Act is just an enormous bribe to insurance companies.
With some good features.
Some good features, but
I wouldn't want to repeal it.
But still, it's an enormous bribe to insurance companies.
But is that Obama's fault? I mean, the one thing I wish he had fought harder for there was the public option.
Well, it gets labeled Obamacare, but I'm still confused as to exactly how much input he had, because he seemed to be very comfortable, at least on the surface, on the public debate, letting Congress fight it out.
Well, maybe the next couple of months I think will be telling. What is Obama's role going to be doing in addressing the fiscal cliff? Will he start to take climate change seriously? And what will begin to emerge in terms of a comprehensive immigration reform policy?
Now, the Republicans can change their tune, but from what I'm hearing already this week, they plan to change nothing about their attitude towards the president.
They have said they would, but the proof is in the pudding, and I think the pudding is going to be pretty stale.
On election night, Obama called John Boehner and he called Mitch McConnell, and he was told they're asleep and they don't want to be disturbed. Right off the bat, insult to the president. You know what? When the president calls, you answer it. But that was just their way of saying, you know what? We're still going to play hardball with this president. We're still not going to give an inch, and we're still. I see it as a very racist kind of approach. We're not going to give the black guy any respectability.
Here's one scenario. Then I got to run to a break. The Republican Congress behaves so badly, and Obama and Democrats are masterful at capitalizing on messaging that points that out, that you have a Congress, a U.S. House that flips Democratic in 2024. 14, giving the president 2 years to actually do a lot of what he promised to do back in 08. There's my hope. There's my dream. Maybe that'll happen.
Maybe that will. I expect to see the Republicans just hunker down and play hardball and not.
Well, I do
give an
too.
inch.
And I hope Democrats can take advantage
And
of
I
that.
hope that, and I hope Obama can play that against them, make them look like the kind of people they are.
Ron, thanks so much for joining us,
No
folks.
problem.
That's Ron Yarnell. We're going to throw him out of the studio before he steals some of the furniture and silverware. Thanks for sticking with us for this
There's
segment.
silverware around here?
Well, it's plastic. I want to thank Reynolds Energy Solutions for sponsoring this segment of the program. This is the brainchild of Tim Reynolds, a guy who's got a lot of passion and knowledge about energy efficiency and conservation. You should have an energy audit done, Ron. Energy audit? They're free. Come on. They don't cost a cent, and they save you money because he identifies ways you can cut down your energy use.
We're going to nickname you on the spot Ed Fallon.
There you go. All right. There we go. So, folks, give them a shout at 802-2801. That's 802-2801. Get your free energy audit today. Save money, save energy, and help support the alternative to talk radio. We'll be back in a few minutes with Richard Doak, former editor of the editorial page of the Des Moines Register.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Well, good morning. This is the 7th of June in the Lord's year 2010, and this is day 1 of WebcastOneLive.com. We will begin with Max World Live with my special guest, Tom Coates. In just a minute, there's Tom. Wait. Howdy. And we will be live for the very first time on Webcast One Live. Someday we're going to look back on this and say, gosh, remember that old day in history? Wonder where Walter Cronkite was. He must have been around hanging there too. But actually, it's the beginning of Webcast One Live. And thank you for listening. Thanks, Rob Spearman, and everybody who's put together this project together. And we're ready to go live now. So thanks for listening to MaxWorldLive.com.
I can't tell you that it's going real well from time to time, but it is going, man.
Hi, folks. It's Ed Fallon here. Proof Restaurant at 13th and Locust. You've probably been there for their award-winning, nationally recognized lunch specials. Well, now Proof is open Thursdays and Fridays for supper. And here's where the chefs really get creative. Let me tell you, they're like artists, okay? I've been there, and it is one of the best meals I have had in Des Moines. I've heard that from other people. You got to check it out. Proof for supper, Thursdays and Fridays, and also the second Saturday of the month. Do not assume you can get in. Make reservations. Contact Proof Restaurant online at proofrestaurant.com or 244-0655. That's 244-0655. Hi, folks. Ed Fallon here. When it is time to entertain, think of Gateway Market. Let them handle the details. Gateway offers a wide variety of stress-free options like cut-to-order cheese and charcuterie. There's a delicious olive bar and a wide variety of chef-prepared dips and spreads. Or let the catering team take care of the entire event, right down to the wine and beer pairings. The expert floral designers can even customize the perfect centerpieces. So stop by or visit Gateway Market for more information. Gateway is at Woodland and ML King in downtown Des Moines. Good food, great entertaining.
Nestled in the heart of downtown, Ritual Cafe is one of Des Moines' most unique places, offering a wide variety of coffee and tea. Ritual Cafe also serves the only all-vegetarian menu in town. And Ritual Cafe is a cultural hub for artists and musicians, with a performance stage hosting local, national, and international talent. Make Ritual Cafe a part of your daily ritual. On 13th Street between Locust and Grand in downtown Des Moines. And check out ritualcafe.com.
I love driving to Newton to see the races.
Me too, but I only have to drive across town.
You live in Newton?
Yep, Newton's got small town charm and it's close to Des Moines. I love the safe, friendly neighborhoods and family-owned businesses. And Newton's wind energy industry is really taking off.
How'd you find your home?
Dan Kelly with First Choice Realty. And Dan helped me find my office too.
Next time, instead of just speeding by, I'll stop in and check out Newton.
Why don't you check out Newton? Call Dan Kelly at 641-521-9260 or Dan Kelly at mchsi.com.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Folks, this segment of the show is sponsored by Fighting Burrito. I have a new shirt on. Yes. Fred Karger. Yeah. He ran for president too, folks. Nobody knows. But anyway, nice guy. He gave me a shirt. One of the few that I actually felt good about wearing. Bunch of stuff happening this weekend. There are the deliberative dialogues on bullying here in Des Moines. This is sponsored. Kim Spillers is leading that conversation at the Franklin Library. It's on my website. All these events are on my website. Also, the 1,000 Friends of Iowa's annual meeting in Mason City this Saturday. And we had Marty Ryan on this program on Wednesday. The Iowans Against the Death Penalty's 50th anniversary. And Marty will be receiving the Governor Harold Hughes Award at that event at 6 p.m. at the Marriott Hotel. Also, there's, in Iowa City, a community presentation on cycling. We had Michelle Gian on my show yesterday, and she's going to be talking about the peace efforts she's involved with as a follow-up to her trip to Japan. Also, a couple Armistice Day events is coming Sunday. Bell ringing for fallen soldiers in Iowa City. This is an event to recognize those who have fallen and to ring a bell and read their name in recognition. Also, in Cedar Rapids, a film will be shown on Armistice Day called Where Soldiers Come From. It's a good event, and again, go to my website. You can get all the information you need about these events on my website. I want to thank Richard Doak for being in the studio with us today. Richard, someone I've admired for a long, long time. You've been reporting for a long, long time, or you had been. Now you're retired.
Yes.
But you haven't gone quietly into the night.
True.
You are teaching at Iowa State University.
Yes.
And that's a weekly?
That's a half-time job. I teach 2 courses a semester.
Okay.
And then the Register is kind enough to offer me 1 column a month, more or less, to say anything I want in the Sunday opinion section. So
no, that's the best place to be.
Allows me to keep my hand in as a journalist. Yeah. It's kind of nice.
And the Sunday opinion section is probably the best place to be. And your most recent piece, I read everything you write. I'm a fan. I'm very much impressed with your vision, your take on the way things are and what we need to do to fix them. And I like the article or the column you wrote. The economic forces may be more profound than either candidate realizes. That's not exactly a positive outlook. But tell me tell our audience what your thought is behind that.
That column was triggered by a column I had read in the Washington Post. Unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the author, but the assertion was that whichever candidate wins the election, whichever party wins, is going to regret it because the economy will be so bad in the future that the party that wins this time is going to lose the next time and probably stay out of office for a generation after that.
Really? So Stephen Schmidt had it right in today's paper when he wrote in his column that the happiest man after the election is not Barack Obama, but Mitt Romney?
Could be. Could be. I don't know if I'd personally go that far. I don't think the economy is going to get that bad, but I think it is true that this election, even though it was supposedly all about the economy, I don't think either candidate really addressed some of those fundamental forces in the economy that are driving down wages and hurting the middle class.
So what are those forces, and are they forces that government can indeed address?
That's a good question. The 2 big forces, I think, are globalization, and the other is what you might call the digital revolution, but it's really the combination of computers and robots, where machines are taking the place of people.
Right.
both of those mega trends, the globalization and the robotization, if you call it that, have a tendency to depress wages, to put people out of work, and those who are still working, those forces have a tendency to a downward pressure on wages across the board.
Yeah. Well, that's been the trend for the last 100+ years. Mechanization puts people out of work. The flip side argument is that it improves the overall economy and the overall quality of life.
Yes.
But there's probably a point of no return, a point of diminishing returns on that.
That's what some of the economists I've been reading are starting to say, that unlike previous industrial revolutions where there were more jobs created, some people were put out of work, but there were more jobs created in the long run, that with this latest digital revolution, that may not hold true as much. And it'll certainly generate wealth and cause the economy to expand. That doesn't mean that workers get any piece of that.
So in theory, if the economy is expanding, there's more wealth, people may be able to work less and still achieve a high or higher quality of life, but not if policies exist that basically divert the lion's share of that additional wealth into the pockets of
exactly.
few people.
Exactly. When all of the gains are going to just a few people at the top, the rest of us.
And that is hard. That it's hard to imagine that either an Obama or a Romney presidency or any federal government, any government at all, could do anything about that. I mean, innovation and technology and that kind of progress, whether it really is progress or not, that kind of technical progress, you can't stymie that, really. But but globalization, that's a result of policies. I mean, couldn't Obama have an effect on globalization?
Maybe, although that may be tempering itself too, as wages are rising in China, and that disparity between wages here and abroad is starting to narrow. So maybe it will work itself out over time. But in the meantime, there is this pressure on wages, not just in those industries that are directly affected, but everybody who works for a living has a downward pressure on their wages because of that.
Folks, Richard Doak, former editorial editor of the Des Moines Register, is my guest this segment of the Fallon Forum. If you'd like to call in and ask him or me a tough question or a softball, really, come on. It's 244-0077, 244-0077, and you can email me at fallonforum@gmail.com if you're afraid to talk. So climate change is something you talk about from time to time.
I have mentioned it, yes.
Probably saying you've mentioned it is modest, and I know it's a very important issue. And we didn't see, my feeling is we did not see a lot of initiative from the Obama administration in his first term. There were some things, clearly, and there were distinctions between him and Romney. Do you suspect, do you have any sense that there will be more attention given to that issue this time around?
I don't know. I don't sense any great public demand that Washington do something about global warming.
How about in New Jersey and New York right now?
That is interesting, isn't it? It did change the dialogue a little, especially with Mayor Bloomberg endorsing Obama on the grounds of
Chris Christie appearing to endorse Obama.
Change. Yeah, almost.
was that about Chris Christie being frustrated with Romney, or just a very clever way to begin his campaign for president in 2016? I don't know. But at any rate, you're right. It's a hard issue for people to wrap their minds around because it is so broad. It is so the effects are so potentially devastating. I mean, not just potentially. Talked in New York and New Jersey, devastating right in the here and now.
And it may be that the momentum toward climate change is so embedded. I mean, it's already happening. That there's not much we can do to prevent it, and maybe our best course of action is to try to adapt as best we can.
Right. And I think we should do both. I think we should we should try to minimize the additional damage we do if we keep burning more and more, carbon-based fuels. But we should also, I mean, absolutely, we've got to prepare for the inevitable. And it's hard to know what the inevitable looks like because that includes, changes in insect behavior and in diseases. And again, we have a drought this year. We've had floods for several years. Who knows what next year will bring in the Midwest? It's hard to prepare for that. But, is building a dike around Manhattan going to help? Is there no dike you can build that would be high enough, I mean, but I think that kind of conversation would be healthy. We're not even having that conversation.
Yeah, it would be. Although I noticed, I think I did read one story where, the stock exchange came perilously close to being flooded in the hurricane. And so suddenly now, Wall Streeters are starting to talk about climate change and the need to do something. If you get those folks eager to do something, then
maybe they will.
Maybe something happens in Washington.
The headline on one of my shows last week was "Sandy occupies Wall Street." Anyway,
true.
Yeah, and maybe that'll get their attention. I don't know, but it seems like of all the issues, it seems like the one that we really have to come together on. Blue states, red states, Republican, Democrat, no matter what your, perspective is, we've all got to get together on this. And yet there's a very strong lobby that wants to do nothing, that wants to maintain its ostrich-like posture, head in the sand. I mean,
yeah, but it's kind of connected too to the economic problems we talked about, because one way you get wages up is to create a labor shortage, to create so much work that there's demand for labor, and so wages rise. Well, we've got a lot of work to do in building those dikes. In look at the rivers in Iowa. We haven't completely re-engineered yet to protect us from floods.
Well, and some of re-engineering means floodplains.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Moving out of the floodplains.
Right.
And the investments in green energy also create jobs, and so we're responding to both the economic problem and the global warming problem if we really invest in those kinds of things.
Well, I mean, my hope is that the you can call it, sometimes it's called a lame duck presidency. I think it's a wide open possibility presidency. There's nothing to fear. Maybe, do you think we'll see a different Obama this time around than we did in the first term?
I don't know. How can he be much different than he has been?
It could be more like he was in 2008 before the election.
But it is, I think we might, in the first big crisis, so-called the fiscal cliff, I think we might see a different Obama simply because he holds the trump card. Mm-hmm. And that is, he can just sit there and let the Bush tax cuts expire automatically. He doesn't have to do anything. He doesn't have to persuade Congress to do anything.
Right.
That happens automatically.
And there's no political liability to him for that happening.
Exactly. And so his, if it can be a simple message to Republicans, if you don't want the deal, fine. We'll just let the law take effect.
And not only would that happen, but there would be big cuts to the military budget as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there would be, I can't remember what exactly happens with some of the entitlement programs, but I believe there's an impact there as well. I mean, it's a good point, Richard.
Yeah, I think Social Security and Medicare were protected in that
completely
those cuts,
okay.
but I'm not sure about Medicaid and some of the other social services. I'm sure would be affected.
Yeah,
but you could always let the cuts go into effect in January, but rescind them later on. So he's in a very strong bargaining position.
I may not be allowed to ask this question, and you tell me if I'm out of line, but I'm curious. You were at the Register for most, if not all, of the time that the paper's editorial board endorsed Democratic candidates for president. What was your response to or reaction to the endorsement of Mitt Romney? If you're allowed to answer that. And I understand you still have a rapport with them, so I don't want to compromise your relationship with them.
I was mildly surprised, but not terribly. I really haven't had, other than emailing my column in, I haven't had a whole lot of contact with my old colleagues at the Register. So I didn't know what they were thinking in advance, but the Register does have even though, you know, the record since the 70s has been to endorse Democrats for president, that didn't mean that everybody on the editorial board was a Democrat and it was always going to endorse Democrat. I think there were, in fact, I suspect this time there was sort of almost a thought process. You know, it's about time.
Well, I was
it's about time
that, yeah.
we endorsed a Republican.
And this guy is more moderate than some, or perceived as more moderate.
Yeah.
I can't help but believe maybe a lot of the folks on the editorial board might be happy with the election results. I don't know. At any rate, it certainly got eyebrows raised, not just here but around the country. So.
I was a little, just personally, miffed with the headline on the editorial. It was something like Romney's new economic vision. You know, come on, he had no economic vision at all. But
despite your contention that that neither party neither Romney nor Obama would really have had too much effect on the economy, do you think Obama as president will have a little bit more of a positive impact, even given the trends of globalization and robotization?
Well, I think if Romney had won and if he had succeeded in getting through his big tax cuts, that would have been a disaster. I mean, we would have been right back into the Bush crash. So I think Obama's election at least prevents that.
Yeah.
I do, I think Obama has the right priorities in terms of investing in education and those sorts of things. My quibble with him is that his I think I called them small bore ideas. I mean, his idea is to make college loans a little more affordable, interest rates a little lower. Well, that's nice, but what we really need is much lower tuition so that people can afford to go to college without borrowing massive amounts of money.
Folks, Richard Doak has been my guest. I've actually waited 25 years for this opportunity. I think it was probably about 25 years ago that I first sat in his office and was interviewed about my work on the Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, and was interviewed periodically after that as a candidate for office. So it was always his job to ask the tough questions. I got to ask the tough questions today. That was kind of fun. Anyway, Richard,
not too tough today.
Well, I should have thrown you a few more hardballs. No, anyway, I really appreciate what you do. I think your voice is one that I look forward to reading in the paper more than nearly any other. So thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So, folks, thanks for joining us, and do stay tuned for Bradshaw. Again, I want to thank Fighting Burrito for helping to sponsor this program. Fighting Burrito, owned by Matthew Goodman, a city councilman from Ames, who now has opened up a restaurant here in Des Moines. And great stuff, very affordable and very creative. Lots of different options, and open from 10 a.m., I believe, to 10 p.m. So when some of the other restaurants close or aren't open on Sunday, you can count on Fighting Burrito to be there to quench your thirst and mitigate your hunger. There we go. So check them out, folks, at 13th and Locust, just south of Locust Avenue on 13th Street in the Nationwide building. Again, I'll be back on Monday at noon, as usual. You can check out podcasts on my website, fallonforum.com. You can also go to my website and see who helped sponsor this program. I strongly encourage you to support the businesses that believe in an alternative to the solid right-wing stuff you're going to find on talk radio. So do that, folks, and spread the word, and stay tuned for Bradshaw at 1:30 on Webcast 1 Live.
Leach, owner and general manager of Service Legends. I brought along a couple of the home comfort heroes.
Hi, I'm Tammy Wells.
I am Nick Wondershot.
I am administrative manager.
I am the senior technician
from Service Legends.
It seems like every good thing, when you feel it to the bone that it's good, there's a lot of hard work put behind it. I don't think that you can fake it and have it turn out good.
You know, if we seem like, okay, that's just weird, it's just a furnace, why would you believe so deeply in a furnace? It's not just that, you know, we want to show the world that you can have good service.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be, it's your home.
You know, it's built into our daily trainings, it's built into our culture, that we're going to do whatever it takes to have each client say they love us, period.
That's why we spend all the hours in the training that we do. And if we guarantee it's going to be a good experience for you, or else it's free, what type of work do you think we're going to do?
There is a guarantee.
Temperature selection guarantee, fixed rider it's free guarantee, comfort guarantee, best value guarantee. All of these guarantees hold us accountable to ensuring that we exceed your expectations. And if for whatever reason we'd fail and we can't make it right, we guarantee all of those guarantees with a 100% money back guarantee.
I mean, if you don't think that your technician can fix it right, are you going to say that to a client? No.
You don't have to worry about having a technician come to your house.
We drug test, background check all of our team members. We put safe people in your home. Each and every one of our service techs, 400 hours a year in training.
You tell it the minute they walk in the door. They know what they're doing, they've done their homework, and they actually truly care about what you want.
Because at the end of the day, you're the person that makes sure I have a job.
They're going to be listening. They're going to want to know what your challenges are. Then they're going to come and give you options, and you get to choose.
If I'm there to help and I make it easy and painless, I did my job right that day.
Well, when it comes to your comfort, safety, and your family, you know, you don't necessarily go buy the most expensive, but you get the most bang for your buck.
Oh, it's worth it, because there's a lot of people that will find a way to get it to work right now and then leave and then come back, charge you again, and the cycle just repeats itself. So when I'm out there looking at the furnace, I want to find why it failed today. How can we change the part today with something that you're not going to have to worry about? Is it worth changing the part today? I mean, you can put a lot of money into a furnace. I can fix parts all day. There's good job security in that for me, but is it the right thing for you?
I get a lot of the phone calls of after the technicians are there. They're just in awe. They're like, wow, you guys are great. I mean, I don't even know what to say. You guys are great. Everything you did is perfect. It's great.
Keep going, though. I like this.
Just give us a try. I'm going to take all the risk.
I've got the time to make this right. I've got the support to make it right.
Just check us out.
And if you don't see the value in what we do,
I mean, fixed rider, it's free or 100% money back.
Enough said.